Brilliant. Thank you, Mark, and thank you so much, Sarah. We have done this before as well, so
Yes.
really looking forward to this. Hey, guys, where are you? Say something. Okay.
It's a full house.
I'll remember to look over this way. Okay, good. Thanks. So I've got a reasonable accommodation, as they say in the States, which is one Apple AirPod and my phone, just for my notes, my iPhone. So apologies for that. I can't do paper. Don't do paper. So thank you again. Do you want to start off by introducing yourself? You've got the longest job title, so I'm glad that the convention here is that everyone introduces themselves. And then we'll get straight onto a video, I believe, to get things rolling.
Yeah, so my name is Sarah Harlinger, and I am the Senior Director of Global Accessibility Policy and Initiatives at Apple, which is quite a mouthful, but basically my team's job is to ensure that every way that Apple presents itself to the world, whether that be through our products, services, stores, workplace, events, original content, whatever it might be, that we are living our core value of accessibility as a basic human right and treating people with dignity and respect. And I guess to kick this off, for anybody who might be unfamiliar with the kind of work that we do, we have a short video to show.
Unfortunately, due to copyright reasons, we are unable to showcase the video mentioned. The Apple video features various accessibility features of its devices, including Siri voice commands, screen reading, and noise recognition features.
Wow. Do you want to unpick any of that?
Yeah, that was actually a really fun project. It was a great collaboration between our Marcom team back in California and actually our Marcom team here in London. And when we try and do anything, the whole concept of nothing about us without us is incredibly important to us, once again, in everything that we do, not just in the products themselves. And so this was a really fun project because we went out to find a lot of our users who are already individuals who are influencers or creatives or professionals out in the world trying to change society's perception of disability. And our goal was really just to give a bigger megaphone. And we really tried to do something that was quite layered, not just working with those individuals to find out what features they were already using and loving, but to look at things like the song in the background is actually the words of Muhammad Ali, who was a lifelong dyslexic and diagnosed with Parkinson's at the age of 42. But then within that, we actually used the piano playing of Matthew Whitaker, who is an internationally renowned pianist, as well as having the whole piece remastered by the DJ that was in this, who's a gentleman named Cola Boy, who's opened Coachella in the States, if anybody knows Coachella. And so, some people who were just able to kind of say, heck yeah, I'm living my best life. And, but really still at the end of the day, our goal was to show everyday people doing everyday things, using everyday products that didn't need some additional something. It's just out of the box. Technology works. And so it was really fun to be able to get that out to the world.
Amazing. Now, that has been the culmination of many years of hard work across many different teams. And, as a blind person, I am really, really privileged and feel very grateful that I know every single new Apple product that comes out, I will be able to be a part of. I feel really, really thankful for that. So thank you so much. Yeah. So let's talk about, it's been a really busy year for Apple, both in hardware releases, software releases, and I'm sure 100% that the accessibility team has been as busy, if not more busy as well as all those other teams. So anything that you want to tell us about recent developments?
Yeah, it has been an incredibly busy year. This has been one of our biggest years we've had in a long time. One of the big things that we did is we've always kind of focused on four main pillars of our work, which is vision, hearing, physical motor, and cognitive. But this year we also expanded to include a speech pillar. And we've certainly been doing things in the realm of speech for a while with things like Type to Siri and Siri pause time, being able to have more time before you speak, and things that were there to support those who are either non-speaking or at risk of speech loss. But this year we came out with 2 new big features that we're really excited about. The first one is one called Live Speech, which is the ability to type what you want to say onto the device and have it spoken out for you. Keyboard-based, and it works in everything from phone calls and FaceTime calls to in-person communication. It's not just being able to type it, you can also save phrases. So if, for example, you always go to the same coffee shop and order the same complex coffee order, if you're an American, that seems to be, what we are all told we must do. You can have that already saved for you so that you just go up and say, I would like a, half-calf macchiato, blah, 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 and it all just comes out of the device for you. And that is set to work with all of our system voices. But one of the other things that it works with that we are super excited about is something called personal voice, which is a way to be able to create a digital version of your own voice and have it within the device. Available on iPhone, iPad, and on the Mac. We built this specifically for individuals who are at risk of speech loss. If you look at one of the communities for whom this would matter, if you think about those who are diagnosed with ALS, 1 in 3 people diagnosed with ALS is likely to lose their ability to speak over time. So this is an opportunity to be able to save your voice within the device. And we really tried to do this in a way that was really simple and easy, but has privacy at its core. The way that it works is that well, let me back up for 1 second. One of the things that we did when we did this, in our view of nothing about us without us, was we worked with individuals in the ALS community to understand some of the things that were incredibly important to them in this process. In particular, we worked with an organization called Team Gleason, based out of the US, which is one of the largest and best ALS organizations in our continent. And some of the things that we heard from people was that speaking out your voice can be incredibly fatiguing. So we focused on a couple of things with this. The first of which was to not make it an extensive amount of time that you needed to do this. It takes about 15 minutes of time to do about 150 phrases that are presented to you in a randomized way. So, no phrase the last time is the next, or you would get again. You're constantly getting a different phrase along the way. But we also set it up so you don't have to do that full 15 minutes at once. If it is tiring to speak out, you could do 2 minutes of it, leave it, come back again the next day to do 2 more minutes, and when you're done, you would have it set. The other thing we did was we heard that having to tap on the screen and tap in a specific spot to move from phrase to phrase can also be a difficult process. So we set it up that it listens to you as you speak the phrase, and when you are done, it automatically goes to the next one. So you never have to actually touch the device as you're going through this process. And when you get through all of the phrases, you leave it overnight, and it will generate the voice on device. That is all done fully encrypted. None of that goes up to the cloud. None of it comes to Apple. We want to make sure that your voice is your voice and only your voice. And so we do it all in a way that is really private and secure.
Really, really empowering for those people. I think we say MND over here, motor neuron disease, instead of ALS. So yeah, amazing. So of all the things that you've been busy with in the last 12 months or so, are any of those that are you're most excited by or most proud of?
Gosh, there's a couple of them, so I'll try and quickly go through a few. One is one called Assistive Access, which is another one we did working with individuals, in this case, those with significant developmental or intellectual delays, as well as their caregivers, to find a way to simplify the UI to decrease the cognitive load. We worked on this with 6 apps total as a start. So we looked at kind of what are the things that everybody uses most on their device, and looked at communication, photos, and both taking photos and using photos, and music and messages. So one of the things we did was merge the FaceTime app and the phone app into one app called Calls, where, and through this whole process, everything has big buttons and really easy to read and kind of simplifies that UI into just a few things on the screen. And you can choose what you want to be presented or not. When you go into something like the Calls app, you can set up exactly who you want that person to be able to communicate with big photos of those individuals and really simple format. As you choose someone to communicate with, you can say, okay, do you want a video call or do you want an audio call? And then if at any point the person realizes they have gotten somewhere that it wasn't what they wanted to do, they don't want to make that call, really big evident back buttons at the bottom of every single app so you can move in and out of things and never feel like you've gotten to a space you don't want to be in. With things like messages, we added a full emoji keyboard for people who prefer to communicate via visuals as opposed to words. And then just within the Photos app and the camera and music, really simplifying into just the main things that you would want to do with that specific app, and making it easy for a trusted caregiver to be able to set it up for you, and just a lot of really simplification. Another one that I have to say, just because this always had a really big place in my heart, because it was one of the first big projects that when I was focusing on just the product management for the company that I did, which was made for iPhone hearing aids. And we started that years ago. 2014 was, I think, when the first one came out. And the idea behind it was creating a crystal clear Bluetooth connection between a hearing aid and a cell phone. And our sort of main goal distilled down was, how do you make the phone call experience a wonderful one for a hearing aid wearer? And it's been fantastic. There are now hundreds of models of MFI hearing aids out on the market. And many people world over using these devices. But this year, we actually also are now connecting them to our Macs. So with our M1 and beyond Macs, any of the bidirectional hearing aids that are out on the market will do a connection to those Macs and be able, I think this, in a way, opens it up a lot for things like education, where people are maybe more reliant on using a Mac for some of the things where they're doing distance learning or having to watch videos for classes and things like that. So I'm super excited about that. And then the last one I would say is Point to Speak on iPhone, which is the next kind of iteration in our work within the Magnifier app to support detection mode. And as a quick intro to that, detection mode is an element within the Magnifier app that we've created to support individuals who are blind or low vision to be able to detect things kind of in the world around them. It started off a couple of years ago with something we call people detection, which gives you an idea of where people are in proximity to you. And then last year we added in door detection, which is kind of for the last 5 meters of your journey somewhere, where it will tell you as you pass by an establishment, the name above, whether if it's the cafe you're going to meet someone at, that it's the name of the cafe, but it will also tell you what kind of door is in front of you, whether the door is open or closed, whether it's a lever handle or a doorknob, are there stairs up to it, just all the things to kind of give you that context. There's also image description and text description in there, But what we've done this year is something called Point to Speak, which enables you to be able to hold up the phone in front of a physical object with text on it. So I think one of the great examples would be like a microwave, where it's got all these different buttons on it saying popcorn and 30 seconds and defrost and whatever it might be, and just be able to point your finger at whatever you want and it will read off each one of those things. So complex washing machines and any kind of an electronic, now having the ability to just say, that's the button I want, and be able to press it.
Yeah, it tells where your fingertip is and it reads the text adjacent to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. My AirPods are, in effect, professional hearing aids because I got an audiologist, I got an audiogram, a hearing test. I got a piece of paper with the audiogram on. I took a photograph of it. The health app imported it into the headphone accommodations section in accessibility. So now I've got the exact same response range that a professional hearing aid would have, and obviously that can work with other, the AirPods Pro and the AirPods Max and things like that, and made for iPhone hearing aids. So really, really good. Should we look ahead? Are you done? Yeah. Okay. So
I could keep going as long as you want, but still.
I don't want to stop you on anything that
No. Please, next question.
Okay, cool. So there have been quite a few sessions over the last couple of days on looking ahead, the future, trends in accessibility. What's your take or Apple's take on the kind of key things to look out for in the areas of accessibility or inclusive design?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the big ones that I'm really excited about, although this may sound slightly boring, is just that with all the things that have been done through the years, and certainly in our world with kind of building foundational assistive technology into the core of our products, into the operating systems, it's really, for me, about looking at what are all the other things that everybody else considers mainstream. What are the buzzwords that are showing up everywhere in the world, and how do we make those accessible? And sort of looking more at it's not so much even the how do you make the device accessible at this stage, it's how do you make the world accessible. So I think it's really about everything we do, continuing to make sure that there isn't something where, oh, this is accessible for this group of people, but not for those. It's we're kids in the candy shop. What are we doing when we're looking at all the new things that as a company we're working on, and how do we make sure they're all working for everyone?
Fantastic. Are you excited about the Vision Pro coming out next year?
Of course.
Talking about the future. So tell us about, what the Apple's take on is with accessibility and inclusion when it comes to a, groundbreaking device like that.
Yeah, well, there's only so much I can say because we tend to really live by the philosophy of surprise and delight when things come out. But as we have sort of let people know, accessibility has been at the core of this from the start too. Our team is always engaged in everything we build, from the point where it's just a concept to initial ones when people are just starting to figure out what it will be, and then all the way through the end, we really focus on how do we make everything accessible. So we've ported dozens of the accessibility features that people know and love on other products into things like iOS into this, as well as looking at what's unique about Vision Pro and how do we make sure that we're really leaning into that in terms of our accessibility. I think one of the things I'm most excited about with that is the multimodality of it. We've built this to be something that you can drive it as a spatial computing platform in numerous ways. So whether it's gestures or eye gaze or voice control, that you can use any of those, both whichever one might be the one that works best for you, but it could also be that as your day progresses, you find that, for example, you're using gestures in the morning, but you might tire out a little bit and decide, I just want to use this by voice later on. And so, as always, we don't assume there's any one solution for anyone, because we are all unique in the world. And so we want to create something that is very layered and has multiple ways for anyone to make it work.
multimodality. I mean, options are what inclusion is all about. Different choices. Yeah, absolutely. For the one or two people maybe in the room that don't or aren't aware of Vision Pro, like a 2-sentence.
Yeah, well, so Vision Pro is a new form of device for spatial computing. Basically, well, I feel like now I'm.
It's like, immersive goggles, but on like the next level.
Yeah, I think just not looking at strictly sort of an AR, VR world, but really about what is the future of spatial computing? You know, how do you do everything from, your email, surfing the web, having a audio or video conversation with someone, could be watching a movie, could be doing an AR or VR, gaming, whatever it might be, that it's really robust and lots of different things that you can do with it.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So AI obviously is a large part of that and everything that we've been talking about in this conference. Have you got any thoughts on AI and the kind of its possible or potentialities for people with disabilities going forward?
Yeah. Well, it's always sort of funny when this comes up, because one of the things I think for us is we've been really leaning into AI for a while now with our accessibility work. We really try to do it in a focused way. And once again, I think the way we work best is to really look at a single problem and figure out how we want to solve that problem. And so, when you think about anything from personal voice to one like sound recognition in that video, where it's listening for sounds in the background and tells the mom baby crying. That's all AI. And so we've really been working deeply with our AI ML teams at Apple to come up with, people detection, door detection. All of these things are based on these incredibly complex algorithms that are really about that kind of AI. So for us, I think we love being able to find those really deep, crunchy problems and solve them using things like ML algorithms.
Apple continue to churn out device after device, new platform after new platform, in a really inclusive way. And it's just highly prioritized within Apple. As the person who's kind of ultimately responsible for making accessibility happen, along with a million other people, in your teams, I know, on a daily basis. One of the kind of key themes from the conference this week have been, helping ensure that you take people with you within your organization, that things happen. I was really taken by one of the questioners' phrases in the earlier session: actual, consistent doing of accessibility day by day across all of the teams. Is that signed, sealed, and delivered within Apple? Is that like a done deal, or is it something that you have to work out and still maintain?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing I would definitely say is I am incredibly grateful to work for a company where accessibility has been a priority basically from the start. I mean, our first Office of Disability started in 1985, which, for context, was 5 years before the Americans with Disabilities Act even came to pass. So, I feel like I stand on the shoulders of giants in terms of how people prioritized this within our organization, and got people behind it. With that being said, I think for all of us in here, there's people to convince, there's things to do. So it's always trying to, once again, for us, figure out all the different ways that we go out into the world and how do we make sure that accessibility is a priority in each one of those. So, it's not just whether we're building something into our products, it's how are we announcing that? Oh, we're going to have an event. Is the event accessible? Oh, we're going to invite people to that event. Is the invite accessible? Oh, and you just constantly have to keep looking at what are all the pieces to make sure that it's just ubiquitous in everything that we do. So, it was interesting, the session earlier today around storytelling, and I believe so deeply in that. For me, I feel like, why would you ever use the compliance stick when there are so many great carrots out there to get people behind this? And in some cases, it's finding the thing that resonates with whomever it is you're talking to get them, to find that empathy gene in them and get them to do it. But then it's also, all the follow-up. Like I was thinking, and having had a conversation with Mark last night about, accessibility and such, of just how you have to keep going. I remember early on in my career, I used to write thank you notes to managers and BCC the people who I had worked with. And I still do it when I can, obviously, it's not something you stop doing, but just in that, like, starting off to get somebody to realize how much I cared and have them, I had one person who said, I've never seen anyone write a note to a manager. I'm on your team forever from now on, because you really made me look good, and no one's ever written a thank you note to my boss about me, and so it's finding all the different ways to get to people and get them to be a part of your army, to use holidays like Global Accessibility Awareness Day, or holidays, but days to engage the entire community and your own organization to galvanize behind something and make them proud of the work you're doing. I think all of these things are about how do we move that needle and get, whether it's upper management or the people who are actually doing the work day to day, to really engage with this and want to be on the team.
Yeah, keep going. Every single Apple event, that's online these days, I'm there. And of course, they have audio description, like we saw on the video there, as well as subtitles. So, I'm able to fully take part in the breaking news and the latest stuff that's coming out. So that's absolutely brilliant. Everything you do is so well thought through, and inclusion is so highly prioritized. It's absolutely brilliant. Have you enjoyed yourself being here?
Oh, here? Absolutely.
What's your top takeaway from the conference?
I think, as Mark said, I've been coming a long time to this, and I think there is a change of tone that's starting to happen, a change in the from how do we do this to the groundswell of people are doing it, and more are engaging within companies big and small to say, this matters. We should all be doing it. And so I think one of the things I've seen in this is just how many more companies are here, how many more people are getting past that initial question, and in many cases storytelling, saying how it's actually been working. So I love the fact that it feels like there's a change in the accessibility world, as it's now becoming more the norm.
Thank you so much. Any final thoughts on kind of Apple's vision of an accessible future?
Yeah, just keep it going. I think we want to keep going, and for everybody else who wants to do it, let's all band together and do more.
Keep going, guys. Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.